Hi, I'm board certified elder law attorney Jason Neufeld, and in this video we're going to be discussing the differences between a qualified income trust and a revocable living trust. Two very different documents used for very different purposes. Let's start with the qualified income trust. Qualified income trust is used in the context of Medicaid planning. When someone comes to our office, their assets may be too high and their income may be too high, or both. A Miller Trust is only a strategy that we're going to utilize if someone's income is too high. There are different Medicaid programs with different income and asset requirements. Miller Trusts only refer to or only relevant to the ICP, long-term care Medicaid plan, which is for people who are looking to get help paying for nursing home care, or the Medicaid waiver or home and community-based services long-term care Medicaid program, which is for folks who are looking for help paying for home health care or assisted living facility care. Miller Trusts are not useful for other programs like QMB or community Medicaid and things like that. Okay, so when we talk about a Miller Trust, we're only talking about them in the context of long-term care Medicaid. All right, so now the issue is every year there's an income cap. It changes once a year. In 2025, when I'm filming this video, the income cap is $2,901 per month. That's from all sources combined. They're including Social Security, they're including pensions, they're including real estate, rental properties, they're including IRA distributions, right? However you have money coming in any given month, if that amount exceeds $2,901 in 2025, then you will not by itself, without any additional help, you will not be eligible for any of these long-term care programs unless you utilize what's referred to as a qualified income trust, which is also known as a Miller Trust. And all that is a trust that's established that the Medicaid applicant signs, or if they have a good enough power of attorney. Not every power of attorney is going to be good enough to sign a qualified income trust, but if they've designated the right individual and it's a properly drafted Medicaid compliant durable power of attorney, then someone else can create that Miller Trust, and spouses can actually create a Miller Trust on behalf of their other spouse who needs to apply for Medicaid. And so the idea is with a Miller Trust that once your income exceeds the income cap, whatever it is in the year in which you're applying, you want to put the excess amount. To the extent that your income exceeds the income cap, you're transferring every month from the moment you apply, and then every month thereafter for the rest of the Medicaid recipient's life, you're transferring the excess income into this income trust. And the money coming out of the income trust can be used to pay for health, medical, wellness related expenses. Okay, that's a Miller Trust. Another interesting aspect of the Miller Trust that we have to be aware of is that after the Medicaid recipient passes away, the state has to be in the first priority position before family. That's okay because Miller Trusts don't accumulate income. They don't accumulate value. In other words, when we think of trust, sometimes we think of money growing on top of money and money being invested and things like that. That's not what's going on with a Miller Trust. In a Miller Trust, money's going in, and the money's coming right back out to go pay for more care. So there should be something close to a zero balance during most days of the month. That's a Miller Trust. Now let's move over and talk about a revocable living trust or living trust or a revocable trust. They're all interchangeable terms that mean the exact same thing. Revocable trusts have a much different use. First of all, revocable living trusts have nothing to do with Medicaid planning. You don't put income into a revocable living trust, it's not going to help you, even if your income is too high. If you put assets into a revocable living trust, they're going to count as if it's in your individual name, because in a revocable living trust, the grantor or the creator of the trust typically has full control over the assets, and they're inevitably listed as the lifetime beneficiary. So everything in a revocable living trust is designed to benefit the person who created the trust. A revocable living trust then might be useful in a Medicaid planning context or after the individual passes away because it can be used to avoid probate. That's its real primary function. I mean, it's good for while the individual is alive and not necessarily interested in Medicaid. It's good to make sure that they've seamlessly once they become unable to manage their own affairs, we have somebody else who's called a successor trustee who's able to kind of step into the role of the grantor to take care of the grantor in terms of being in charge of the money and moving the money around and so on and so forth. And then after the grantor passes away, it's designed to avoid probate. Any assets that are in the trust don't go through probate. So very different goals. Miller Trust Qualified Income Trust is only for folks whose income exceeds the income cap in the year they're applying for a long-term care Medicaid program. Revocable Living Trust primarily really has nothing to do with Medicaid planning other than avoiding probate for certain assets, can help avoid or minimize the chance of estate recovery. But most of the time, when thinking of a Revocable Living Trust, really just in terms of a probate avoidance tool. Again, there's a lot more to it. Both of these tools have interesting elements that are going to be beyond the scope of this video, but I hope it gives you a good kind of 30,000 foot view of the main differences between these two documents. Thank you very much.